Okay, assignment number 3. So we're going to use the double angle formulas. So this stuff at the bottom. Using the angle addition formula, prove this. So angle addition would be, instead of using 2a, we could go a plus a. Okay, so 2a, angle addition would be a plus a. So the angle addition would be cos of the first angle, cos of the second angle, cos of the first angle, cos of the second angle, minus sine of the first angle, sine of the second angle, which ends up being cos squared a minus sine squared a. Okay, so you can see why that works. Given the sine ratio is 3/5, so that would be a y and an r, and it's in quadrant 1. So y is 3, r is 5. Pythagorean theorem makes x be 4, and it is positive because it's quadrant 1. So I'm going to find sine 2a. So I'm going to use this, which is 2 times the sine a cos a. So that's the formula I'm picking. And then the sine a is 3/5. And the cos a is 4/5 because our ratio for cos, remember, is x over r. Remember that ratio? So 4/5 goes there. And if I times everything on the top, okay, I get 2 times 3 times 4. So that's 24 over 25. Okay, now cos of 2a. This one's unique because there's 3 that I can pick from. And it does not matter which one you do. I'll just pick the first one. So I'm going to do the cos squared minus the sine squared. Okay, so what's the cos of a? That was 4/5, but I have to square it. And the sine of a was 3/5, but I have to square it. So 16 over 25 minus 9 over 25 makes 7 over 25. Okay, now to find the tan, do you remember that a tan is sine over cos? Okay, so now I'm just going to go, what's the sine of 2a divided by cos of 2a, since I've already found those. So 24 over 25 would get divided by 7/25. And then I would flip and multiply the bottom fraction, which makes that cancel, and I get 24 over 7. Okay, you can use this formula as well. Okay, and using, obviously, the tan ratio would be 3 over 4, but you will get to the same thing. Okay, given a tan, so that is the y over the x, and it's not in quadrant 2. Tan is negative, so it's not in 1 or 3. So we're in quadrant 4. So we have -8, 15. This is positive, and that's negative y. So our r, you have to do Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared. We end up with 17. So let's just write some things on the side here. The sine would be -8 over 17, and the cos would be 15 over 17. What am I doing there? Y over r, x over r. Okay, so sine 2a, you're going to have to do 2 sine a cos a. Okay, because I'm using this formula. So 2 times that ratio, and that ratio. Okay, so 2 times negative 8 times 15 is what you're going to do on the top. So I get negative 240. 17 times 17 is 289. Cos 2a, again, you can pick any 3 of these formulas. I'll just do the top one. So cos squared a minus sine squared a. Okay, so we get 15 over 17, but then we have to square it. And we have to square that. Okay, so this is 225 over 289 minus 64 over 289. And that would leave us with 161. Okay, so here I'm going to do sine 2a divided by cos 2a to represent a tan ratio. So I know these values. So negative 240 over 289 divided by, right? So the y divided by x kind of idea. So the sine divided by the cos. And I'm going to flip and multiply. There we go. Okay, next, number 4. Sine is negative, so we're in the bottoms, and it is in quadrant 3. Okay, this is negative 4, it's a y, and a 7 is an r, so this x, a squared, b squared, c squared, solving Pythagorean theorem, so 7 squared minus 4 squared, and that's 33, which doesn't root, so it's the square root of 33. I leave it because it's not exact, and we can't forget that x is negative in that quadrant. Okay, so we have the sine ratio. I'm going to write the cos ratio, which is negative root 33 over 7, x over r. Okay, so here's the formula that I would be using from my formula sheet. So 2 times the sine ratio, cos ratio. So I can see the bottom is 49, and this would be positive 8 root 33. Okay, so this, I'm going to pick one of the 3 formulas. So I'm going to pick this one. Okay, so the cos ratio squared minus the sine ratio squared. So here, don't be fooled that when you do a square root times another square root, it actually just cancels off. 49 minus 16 over 49. Okay, so that's the algebra behind squaring, so that's 17 over 49. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this to get the tan. So 8 root 33 over 49 divided by 17 over 49. So if you haven't figured out that when you flip and multiply, the 49 would go to the top and they would cancel. So I'm going to get 8 root 33 over 17. Okay, and I will do that the long way there. So I'm going to times and flip instead of dividing. And there you can see how I got to that. Okay, number 5 is one that I told you to skip. I will do this for you anyway, but we can skip it. So I'm telling you what a cos value is, and I'm asking you to find what's the cos of 2 angle, essentially, right? So I'm going to use this formula here. cos of 70, which is this 2 angle, would equal 2 cos squared of 35 minus 1. So if you can see in my formula, I'm treating A as 35, so 2A is 70. So 2 times 0.82 squared, right? Because cos 35 is 0.82, but I'd have to square it minus 1. Okay, so I get 0.3448. Okay, the sine of 70, so I'm going to use this formula. Okay, so 2 times the sine A cos A. So I know this would be cos of 35, right? And I know that. So in that spot I can put 8.82 in. But I actually don't know what the sine A is. So I'm going to go to this one of these two formulas here and figure it out. Okay, so cos 2A, so that was 0.3448 equals the cos A squared, 0.82 squared, minus sine A squared. Okay, so now I'm going to square this, move it over. Okay, so let me get a calculator here. So 0.3448 minus 0.82 squared is negative 0.3276. Okay, and then I'm going to divide by negative 1. And then I would have to square root it. Square root that answer. 0.5724. Okay, so that's what I would get. And I would just times all of those values. And when I'm doing this, I'm actually keeping it in my calculator. So I have it there, times 2 times 0.82, 0.9387. Okay, and to find the tan 70, I will go the sine 70 divided by cos 70. So I'm dividing those two numbers. Okay, and I already actually have this on my calculator. So divide by 0.3448. 2.7224. Okay, number 6. The sine, so that's a y and that's an r, in quadrant 4. So to solve for the x, it's 12 and it's positive. Okay, so I also know, so there's our two that we'll probably be using. So the cos is x over the r. Okay, so cosecant, that's the opposite of sine, or the reciprocal of sine. So I'm going to just go, what's the sine of 2a? And then when I'm done, I'm going to flip it around. Okay, so I'm going to use the formula sheet again. So 2 sine a cos a. So 2 times the sine fraction, the cos fraction. Okay, so when I do that, I get negative 120 over 169. But don't forget, because I'm doing cosecant, need to flip. Okay, same thing here, same strategy. This is secant is the opposite of cos, so I'm going to go find cos of 2a, and then I'm going to flip it. Okay, so using a formula, that's the formula sheet. So this trig value squared minus this trig value squared. So 144 over 169 minus 25 over 169. So that's 119 over 169. And then we have to flip it. Okay, and cotangent is cos 2a divided by sine 2a. That's how you do a cotangent, right? The reciprocal of tan. So the cos 2a, so that was here. This was the cos, 119 over 169 divided by, okay, and here was our sine. So negative 120 over 169. And those will cancel when you flip. So I get a negative value